Hello and welcome to this presentation from Pluralsight. My name is Andrew Mallett and I'm here as your instructor to help guide you through the module that looks at the Linux boot process. We're going to be looking at how we can manipulate the Linux system during the recovery process. So we've already seen a little bit of this in the last clip, how we can boot up then to our rescue mode. But we're going to see how we can both edit the menu but also go in and have the menu automatically add the single user mode or rescue mode in for us. Once we've done that, and perhaps very importantly, we're going to look at how we can develop system disaster recovery tests. And one thing that we need to make sure that you're able to do is perhaps root passwords that have been maliciously changed, or a root password for a system has just been unknown for a while, that nobody needed to administer that system, and perhaps it was managed by somebody else and you now need to take it on board, but whoever managed it then doesn't know the password to give you. So we'll see how we can set the root password even when we don't know it. If you know this in System 6, so CentOS 6, be aware it's very different when we're looking at it in CentOS 7, so well worth stopping to watch this. You're going to see within the demonstrations that we're going to enable our recovery mode, and we're going to do this through the GRUB configuration. With this done, we're then going to look how we can recover from those lost root passwords. So let's begin by looking at how we can enable our recovery mode. I'm going to jump off to the console of our system right now. Now we can see as we look at the GRUB boot screen, our Grand Unified Bootloader, we've got 3 kernels that we can boot to on this system. The default entry is the updated kernel, so we installed during the installation with the middle kernel and then we patched the system, and that's given me that later 3.1 kernel with the numbers at the end of the kernel version. The bottom, the rescue one, gives me a fallback kernel if I don't have any other kernels too. So in a chance of changed hardware or corrupted kernel, at least I've got a way that I can boot up my system. Don't get that confused though with the rescue target. It's just a rescue image that we can boot to. We've already seen that we can then hit the E key at this screen, so we can go through and edit the boot process. But we're just going to continue normally, and we're going to go through to the default run level. The default run level I had previously set to run level 3, or our multi-user target as it is now called. I'm going to log on as the root user and put in the password. Now we're going to see more in the next module on how to work with and configure GRUB. But we're going to change one of the configuration settings at the moment. So I'm going to use vi to edit the /etc/default and then the GRUB file. Remember, if you're not that comfortable using vi, then you can use the nano editor. When we open up this file, if I move to the bottom line, so I can use Shift and G to go to the last line, and then Shift and A to go to the end of the line, I can change this GRUB disable recovery to be false. So it's kind of a double negative here. I'm disabling the disable of the recovery mode. That means I am enabling it. So it's awkward sometimes to read, but putting this to false is actually then becoming a positive. I can choose escape and colon and X, and that will have then saved my file. I have to update the GRUB configuration, and I do this with grub2-mkconfig. So we have to generate the new configuration, and we can specify the output file, so -o as output, /boot/grub2, and then grub.cfg. So we can allow that to run through, and then I'm going to type the command reboot. What we're going to see now is that for each kernel entry that I have in my GRUB menu, it will have created an entry for the recovery mode. Let's just arrow down on this so it stops the menu. So we can see then arrowing down, I've gone through to the latest kernel and recovery mode. If we arrow down again, this is the original kernel and recovery mode. And then for my rescue kernel, my fallback kernel, I've got the recovery mode. If I choose one of these, let's just go up into the recovery mode for my latest kernel and hit enter. All this has saved me doing is editing the boot process to allow me to go to the run level 1, the single user mode, or as we call it now, our rescue target. So I put in the root password and clear the screen. If I do the who -r, we can see then that I'm in run level 1. So hopefully we've got some idea of how we can enable then our recovery mode through GRUB. And all that's doing is just adding in the GRUB entries for us to go to our recovery mode. I'm not certain it's really going to be necessary, because when you think about it, how many times will you be booting your server into the recovery mode or the rescue target? Probably not that often. But we've seen when we go into this run level 1, whereas on a CentOS 6 system we weren't prompted for our root password by default, we are now prompted for the root password. So we can't use this easily as a mechanism to reset mislaid or unknown root passwords. So we're going to look now at how we can reset our lost root passwords.